The wealthiest New Yorkers you've never heard of don't want you to know their names. Their family controls more New York real estate than almost anyone, yet remains virtually unknown to the millions who live, work, and walk through their properties every day. While Trumps and Kushners battle for headlines, the Rudin family has spent over a century quietly assembling 15 million square feet of prime Manhattan real estate, enough property to form a small principality within the city limits. Their $5 billion portfolio includes 3,500 apartments and commercial landmarks across New York's most exclusive neighborhoods. Yet, they've maintained the anonymity typically reserved for witness protection programs rather than billionaire dynasties. In today's episode of Old Money Luxury, we explore how 4 generations of Rudins built Manhattan's stealth empire through conservative financing and strategic vision. While celebrities and flashy billionaires hog the spotlight, the true royalty of New York real estate operates with the stealth of a cat burglar, amassing a $5 billion empire without most New Yorkers even knowing their name. The Rudin family, now in their 4th generation of real estate dynasty, controls an astonishing 15 million square feet of prime Manhattan real estate, enough space to house a small city, while maintaining the public profile of your average accountant. Their 32 properties, split between 17 residential buildings and 14 commercial towers, form a concrete constellation across Manhattan's most coveted neighborhoods, from the Upper East Side to Greenwich Village, with recent expansion into Brooklyn's Navy Yard. Imagine owning 3,500 apartments in a city where most residents struggle to afford a single-bedroom walk-up. That's the reality for this dynasty that began with a single brownstone purchase back in 1950. Their crown jewel, 345 Park Avenue, stands as just one monument in their commercial portfolio, alongside other landmarks like 3 Times Square and the recently completed Dock 72 in Brooklyn, a 675,000 square foot office building that cost $380 million. William Rudin, the patriarch who currently serves as co-chairman, looks more like a university professor than a man who could buy and sell entire city blocks without denting his bank account, eschewing the gaudy trappings of wealth that typically announce one's billionaire status. The family's recent leadership transition in 2024 marked a historic moment as Samantha Rudin Earls became the company's first female co-CEO alongside her brother Michael, keeping the reins firmly within the family's grasp, while bringing in the first non-family president in their century-long history. What makes the Rudins truly exceptional in the cutthroat world of New York real estate isn't just their wealth. It's their remarkable ability to accumulate billions without accumulating enemies, scandals, or public relations disasters along the way. In a business where most magnates eventually find themselves splashed across the tabloids for financial improprieties, bitter divorces, or feuds with celebrities, the Rudins have maintained a squeaky clean reputation that would make the royal family's PR team green with envy. While Donald Trump plastered his name on buildings in gold letters and the Kushners courted political controversy, the Rudins quietly continued their century-long strategy of buying prime locations near subway stops and holding on to them with the determination of a bulldog with a bone. Behind the boardroom doors of Rudin Management Company lies a family enterprise so disciplined that until 2024, they followed the original patriarch's cardinal rule established in 1950. Never sell the family properties, a tradition they maintained with religious fervor until economic pressures finally forced their hand. The true story of how a Lithuanian immigrant's humble dry goods store evolved into Manhattan's most discreet real estate colossus begins not in a gleaming skyscraper, but in the cramped quarters of a Lower East Side tenement, where dreams were as abundant as actual space was scarce. Louis Rudinsky stepped off the boat from Lithuania in 1884, joining the wave of Jewish immigrants seeking refuge from Eastern European persecution and opportunity in America's burgeoning metropolis. His early years in New York followed the familiar immigrant path. First, a small dry goods store on the Lower East Side, where he and his wife Rachel worked grueling hours while raising their growing family in modest conditions, far removed from the Manhattan penthouses his descendants would later own. The Rudinsky family's fortunes began to shift in 1950 when Louis demonstrating the entrepreneurial instinct that would become a family hallmark, purchased his first real estate holding, a 4-story brownstone at 153 East 54th Street. That single brownstone, acquired for a sum that would be considered pocket change in today's market, became the cornerstone of what would eventually grow into a multi-billion-dollar empire spanning Manhattan's most coveted neighborhoods. Lewis issued a directive to his children that would guide the family's business philosophy for over a century: never sell this property and try to acquire all surrounding buildings. A simple strategy that embodied long-term thinking in a city where quick profits often tempted developers. Samuel Rudin, Louis' ambitious son, took his father's vision further in 1925 when he officially founded Rudin Management Company with his brothers Edward, Henry, and Nathan, formalizing what had been an informal family enterprise. The family name itself underwent transformation during this period, simplified from Rudinsky to Rudin, a common practice among immigrant families seeking to assimilate into American society while building their business reputation. Samuel's early real estate strategy reflected both practical wisdom and visionary foresight. He insisted on properties accessible by subway or ferry, establishing a transit-oriented approach that would characterize the family's acquisitions for generations. The early Rudin portfolio grew methodically through the Great Depression, a time when many overextended developers faced ruin, but the Rudins' conservative, debt-averse approach allowed them to weather economic storms that capsized less cautious competitors. Samuel's leadership style combined old-world values with American business pragmatism, emphasizing long-term ownership over speculation, quality construction that would stand the test of time, and personal relationships with tenants rather than impersonal management. The second generation began entering the business as young men, with Jack and Louis Rudin learning the fundamentals of real estate by working directly with building superintendents, collecting rents, and addressing tenant concerns, a hands-on education that no business school could provide. By the time Samuel's sons, Jack and Louis, were ready to take greater leadership roles, the foundation had been firmly established. Conservative financial practices, strategic locations, quality construction, and a long-term perspective that viewed properties not as assets to be flipped, but as legacies to be maintained for generations. The 1950s marked a turning point for the Rudin family as post-war prosperity fueled unprecedented growth in New York City real estate, transforming their modest portfolio into an expanding empire of rising skyscrapers. Jack and Louis Rudin, now taking leadership roles in the family business, divided responsibilities with military precision. Jack overseeing construction and operations, while Louis managed financing and marketing, their complementary skills creating a formidable business partnership. The brothers embarked on an extraordinary building spree, constructing 11 major buildings in just 2 decades, establishing themselves as among Manhattan's most prolific developers during a period that would define the modern city skyline. Their development strategy adhered faithfully to Samuel's subway rule, investing only in properties easily accessible by public transportation, a principle that guided them to prime locations while competitors chased suburban developments during the highway expansion era. 300 East 57th Street became a notable milestone for the family, the first post-World War II apartment building in New York City, marking their transition from small-scale landlords to significant developers shaping the urban landscape. The Rudins distinguished themselves from other major developers not merely through the quantity of their projects, but through a quality-focused approach that emphasized solid construction, thoughtful amenities, and professional management, building what Louis Rudin would call solid, quintessential New York buildings. By the early 1960s, their commercial aspirations materialized in projects like 641 Lexington Avenue, built in 1961-64 on the very site of Louis Rudinsky's original brownstone, a physical manifestation of the family's journey from humble beginnings to commercial prominence. Their largest and most significant commercial development, 345 Park Avenue, opened in 1968, establishing the Rudins as major players in Manhattan's prestigious corporate corridor, with the 44-story tower becoming a centerpiece of their expanding portfolio. Samuel Rudin lived to see his sons transform the family business, witnessing the fulfillment of his vision before his death in 1975, at which point the Rudin holdings had grown from a single brownstone to a substantial collection of residential and commercial properties spanning Manhattan's most desirable neighborhoods. Unlike flashy developers who leveraged their properties to dangerous levels, the Rudins maintained conservative financial practices throughout their expansion, typically borrowing only 50 to 60% of a property's value, a prudence that enabled them to weather economic downturns that devastated more aggressive competitors. This cautious approach paid dividends during New York City's fiscal crisis in the mid-1970s, when over-leveraged developers faced bankruptcy while the Rudins remained stable, even playing a crucial role in helping the city itself avoid financial collapse. The family's portfolio reached a valuation of $1.5 billion by 1990, equivalent to approximately $3.2 billion in today's currency, marking their establishment as one of New York's wealthiest real estate dynasties, despite maintaining a relatively low public profile. When New York City teetered on the edge of bankruptcy in 1975, Louis Rudin emerged as an unlikely civic savior, orchestrating an unprecedented intervention that demonstrated the family's commitment to the city that had enabled their fortune. Working alongside Mayor Abraham Beame during the darkest days of the fiscal crisis, Louis mobilized fellow real estate titans and corporate leaders to prepay $600 million in property taxes, equivalent to over $3 billion in today's currency, providing the city with crucial liquidity when federal authorities had famously told New York to drop dead. This extraordinary measure, which required convincing skeptical business leaders to advance funds to a nearly bankrupt city government, showcased Louis Rudin's behind-the-scenes influence and earned him the nickname Mr. New York, a title reflecting his dedication to civic causes beyond mere financial self-interest. The Rudin family's civic engagement extended far beyond crisis management, with Louis co-founding the Association for a Better New York in 1971, creating an organization that brought business leaders together to address urban challenges from crime to sanitation. Their commitment to the New York City Marathon began when Louis and Jack Rudin became its first major sponsors in 1976, establishing the Samuel Rudin Trophy in honor of their father, who had been an avid long-distance runner, a tradition that continues as the family's longest-running philanthropic commitment. The May and Samuel Rudin Family Foundation, established in 1976 and named for the family patriarchs, has distributed millions to causes focused on education, healthcare, arts and culture, and social services, with annual giving reaching approximately $5.6 million in recent years. Louis Rudin's civic contributions earned permanent recognition in 2002, when Mayor Michael Bloomberg named the corner of 52nd Street and Park Avenue Lou Rudin Way, an honor matched in 2018 when Jack Rudin Way was unveiled at 51st Street and Park. William Bill Rudin stepped into his father Louis's civic leadership role upon the latter's death in 2001, continuing the family tradition by chairing the Association for a Better New York and serving on boards including the Real Estate Board of New York, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and the Battery Conservancy. During the 21st century's early decades, the Rudin portfolio continued growing under third-generation leadership, with William Rudin serving as president from 1993 and later as co-chairman, starting in 2017. Economic pressures and changing market conditions eventually tested the family's long-standing never-sell principle, with 2024 marking a watershed moment as the Rudins sold 2 office towers, a decision that broke the century-old family rule established by Louis Rudinsky. Despite these market adaptations, the Rudins maintained their fundamental commitment to New York City, with William Rudin noting on CNBC that reports of the city's commercial real estate decline had been greatly exaggerated, citing a 63% rebound in sales activity. The crown now passed to new hands as the 4th generation stepped forward to face unprecedented challenges in the city's real estate landscape, a generational shift that would test whether the family's century-old business principles could adapt to a rapidly transforming New York. The year 2024 marked a historic transition for the Rudin dynasty as Samantha Rudin Earls became the first female CEO in the company's century-long history, sharing leadership with her brother Michael as co-CEO of the $5 billion enterprise. This leadership shift coincided with another significant change, the appointment of Neil Gupta as the first non-family president in Rudin Management Company's history, signaling a blend of family tradition with professional management expertise better suited to navigate 21st century real estate complexities. The fourth generation inherited a portfolio spanning 32 properties, including 17 residential buildings with 4.7 million square feet and 14 commercial buildings comprising approximately 9 million square feet. Assets requiring both preservation and innovation in a rapidly evolving market. Samantha and Michael had been methodically prepared for leadership, with Samantha joining the company in 2007 after graduating from New York University, and Michael coming aboard in 2008 following his studies at the University of Colorado, both climbing through various operational roles before assuming executive positions. The new leadership faced immediate challenges, including the continued fallout from pandemic-era work patterns that had dramatically reduced demand for traditional office space, the very asset class that formed the backbone of the Rudin commercial portfolio. Their response demonstrated both flexibility and fidelity to family values, as they announced plans to convert 355 Lexington Avenue, a 65-year-old office tower built during the family's post-war expansion, into residential units, adapting to market realities while maintaining ownership. This conversion strategy represented a creative middle path between the traditional never sell mandate and the economic pressures that had already forced the family to break precedent by selling 2 office towers earlier in 2024. The fourth generation also embraced technological innovation more aggressively than their predecessors, continuing development of NAM OS, an energy efficiency system launched in 2013, and introducing the Nantum Tenant app in 2020 to enhance the resident experience through artificial intelligence. Their most ambitious recent development, Dock 72 in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, represented a geographical expansion beyond Manhattan, a 675,000 square foot office building developed in partnership with Boston Properties and WeWork, completed in 2019 at a cost of $380 million. The Greenwich Lane, their luxury residential development created from the former St. Vincent's Hospital site in Manhattan's West Village, showcased their high-end residential capabilities, including a penthouse that sold for $45 million, setting a neighborhood record. Despite these innovations, the core Rudin philosophy remained intact. Location remains paramount, quality construction continues to define their developments, and the family still maintains direct involvement in property management rather than outsourcing to third parties. As the fourth generation guides the enterprise toward its 125th anniversary, they face the delicate balance of honoring Louis Rudinsky's vision while adapting to 21st century urban realities, writing the next chapter of a quintessentially New York story of immigrant ambition transformed into dynastic wealth through patience, principle, and perseverance. With that said, we'd love to see you in the comments. Which wealthy family would you like us to cover next? Thank you for watching another episode of Old Money Luxury. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.